Hello, good evening, and welcome to this new relationship masterclass. For those of you who are already in the room, thank you for joining. For those of you who are going to join us later or receive just the recording, thank you for registering to be part of this event. I am doing quite a lot of these recently, and I'm very excited to be putting on a brand new masterclass that I haven't actually done before. So thank you once again. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Valentina. I'm a relationship coach and hypnotherapist, and I work a lot with people, specifically women, but also couples and occasionally men who want to improve their relationships and have better relationship skills. And this particular topic is something that comes up very often in my coaching sessions with clients, because after a while, even the best relationships start to get a little bit more disconnected. And most of us are feeling a little bit lost in terms of how our partners communicate with us and the sort of story that we tell ourselves about our relationships. So today I really wanted to get into the details of how can we change that story? How can we create a reality that is the foundation of an extraordinary connection, an extraordinary relationship, which is really what my goal is with all my clients. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to put a few slides on the screen just for us to have something to follow, but I will also ask you guys to participate, to be involved in this masterclass as much as possible, because this is all for you. So let's explore what it takes to feel more loved and more heard in our relationship. And I will start this whole presentation with something that I've discovered when I first got into romantic relationships, but also as I explored this space both from a personal and professional perspective. I've learned working with so many clients in the last 10 years that our deepest desire in a romantic relationship is to be seen for who we truly are. It is very important for us to feel that we are chosen and special and wanted above all else. This is something that I've experienced myself in my relationship experiences. But I know that when I ask people what is it that they want, they say, I want someone who's got my back and who I can be truly vulnerable, who I can show my real self. But at the same time, what's very apparent to me is that this desire to be seen is also our biggest worry that we have. It's our biggest fear, because on the other side of the coin, when I ask people, what is it that you're afraid of the most? They say, I'm afraid that people will see me for who I truly am. And that's usually because we don't feel very good about ourselves, that we have come to believe that there's something wrong with us. And of course, if we were truly vulnerable and authentic and we were showing that part of ourselves to someone, they would have a lot of reasons to not like us or not to give us the kind of attention and affection that we desire. So because we always have this conflict between our biggest desire being to show ourselves and to be truly seen, but also our biggest fear being that people might see how we are inadequate and not good enough, I wanted to focus this whole presentation, this whole class, on how can we change the way we feel about ourselves. And the first thing that we need to do for that is actually to understand what does it take for us to own our own feelings, to understand our brain, to understand our experience of life. And because I've been spending so many years exploring the brain, exploring relationships, exploring the way our emotions impact the way we operate in the world, I've learned and I've come to understand that our brain is a meaning-making machine, which means that we are constantly trying to understand, to interpret, to judge what is happening in an external reality and how is that impacting us. Even a simple observation like it's a sunny day outside today, the sun is shining, not that today was very sunny. But when we do have that experience, we wake up in the morning, you look outside and we see that it's a beautiful day. it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to feel good about that experience. It's not going to necessarily bring us happiness and joy just because the sun is shining. Because imagine that you wake up in the morning and actually you have something that you're going to need to do that day. And maybe the sun in the sky is inviting you to go to the beach, but actually you're going to have to spend your whole day indoors. How is that really going to make you happy? So the first question that I would like you guys to really explore is to think, when you are feeling unseen, unheard, and unappreciated, what is the story that you make in your mind? What is the interpretation that you give yourself for that experience? And I know that this is not difficult to understand because that voice is in our head all the time. So I would just invite you to close your eyes and think of the last time that you've been feeling that for some reason your partner wasn't giving you exactly what you wanted, and to notice what are the sort of thoughts, what are the sort of ideas that you have that are going through your mind. Because most of the time, what we're really seeing when that happens is that the thoughts are not necessarily very positive. So what I heard from people who are in this situation was that they think, oh, I'm not that important to him. I don't ever get any appreciation from my partner, or even the experience that we have, the story that we tell ourselves must be something to do with jealousy, that it must be that he has someone else, that he's actually spending more time or finding someone else to be better than me, so we feel unworthy. Or simply just we dismiss our partner, or we feel dismissed because they just don't care about us. So whatever is your story, if you are comfortable to share what are the sort of thoughts that you're having in those moments, it would be quite useful for us to question those thoughts and to really try to understand, what does it really mean when your need to be seen and heard and loved is not satisfied? Because we're going to try to really understand the fact that the unmet needs, like I said, the need to be seen, to be heard, to be loved, and the repressed emotions that come from that unmet need are usually the sources of every conflict and disagreement in a relationship. And ultimately, they are the source of your unhappiness. If you're really understanding what the unmet need is, and what sort of emotions do you hold around it because of the story that you tell yourself, we're going to be able to get to the bottom of what you really need to change in your life so that you can feel seen, heard, and loved. And we're going to go about it a little bit the other way around compared to what it is here. But if you have already any understanding of what your unmet need is, then it would be wonderful if you could share it with us today. Now, let's explore a little bit later, a little bit more on what does it take for us to understand this source of unhappiness. So first of all, I'd like to explore our emotions, to understand how our emotions feel in our body. So we have some primary emotions, and out of these primary emotions, a lot of different things are happening. A lot of different experiences are coming out, or different interpretations, if you like. So the primary emotions are anger, sadness, fear, shame, disgust. Sometimes we experience surprise, joy, excitement, contempt, or guilt. So I would like to invite you to close your eyes and think of the emotion that is most associated with those situations where you feel unseen and unheard. What really happens in your body when your partner is ignoring you, when your partner is neglecting you, or is simply dismissing your feelings and what you're trying to tell them? Most of the time, people feel ashamed of having needs. Other times, we feel angry that we're not getting our expectations satisfied by our partner. Whatever it is, I'd like you to close your eyes and focus on that experience. Because what I want you to feel is, how does anger manifest in your body? How does fear manifest in your body? How does joy manifest in your body? If we understand that, if we can truly connect the labeling of the emotion. If I say I'm angry, understanding how that anger makes me feel, if it's maybe like a boiling sensation in my chest, if it's just a desire to punch something or to throw something, it's really important for us to create that association and consciously understand what is really going on in our body. So make a note for yourself of what are those sensations, what is really happening when you're feeling angry, because this is going to help you later on if you ever feel this experience, if you ever have this experience of anger and you feel it in your body, to change the story that you're telling yourself about it by understanding what the source of that emotion is. So there is a long list, and after this webinar, I will also send you all an exercise, so a handout, an example of how this content can be actually used by yourself with your partner. So the main thing in this story that I'm trying to share with you today is really to understand what are the unmet needs. So I've posted here on the screen a list of different needs that we have, and I'm just gonna kind of mention a few here just to give you an idea. But what are some of the core needs for us in a relationship is we need, for example, attention from our partner. We want to make sure that our partner is attracted to us and they want to spend time with us. We also want clarity. We want to know where we stand with that person. We need to have good communication and we need to have a good connection with our partner. Sometimes we also need to have independence in our partner, or we need to have intimacy with them. Most of the time, most couples want to feel safe and need to have the security that their partner chooses them and loves them. Another very important need in relationships is really to feel respected by your partner, or to spend quality time with them, or even space. The idea that you need to have your own life and your own space is really important. So I would like you to write down for yourself, what are some of the things that you really, really need the most? In particular, needs that make you feel unseen and unheard when they're not satisfied. So maybe you want your partner to pay attention to you when you speak to them. Maybe you want your partner to support you in your everyday, maybe professional endeavors. And then when they don't support you, you really feel unsafe. You feel like they don't really treat you with empathy, and they don't feel that they really treat you like an equal. So whatever these needs are, I'd like you to take a few moments and write them down. If you want to share them in the chat, feel free. I would really love to hear what are some of your core needs. But I know that the biggest challenges and the biggest conflicts that I have helped facilitate in my experience as a relationship coach have come out of the fact that fundamental needs of the relationship have not been satisfied. So whatever makes you feel loved, for me, I know that the best expression of love, I feel most loved by my partner when they pay attention to me, when they appreciate me, when they want to spend time with me and they are inspired by me, when they are clear with their intention and the way that they want our relationship to go, when they respect my feelings and my choices, when they respect my independence, because I'm a highly independent person. So those moments when I don't feel seen or heard is when, for example, if I ever shared with my partner that I feel a little bit disconnected because we haven't spent that much time together, and this lack of connection makes me feel sad. If they're ignoring or dismissing that feeling, is going to cause a lot of internal conflict for me, because this need is not actually satisfied. So I hope that you've managed to write a few things down. And even if you haven't given it too much thought, I encourage you to check in with the handout that I will share and do the exercise by yourself after this. And once you are aware of what your core emotions are, it pays off to spend some time actually nuancing a little bit, fine-tuning how you're actually feeling, because there are many degrees in in any example. For example, in the emotion of fear, sometimes we can feel totally panicked, or sometimes we feel suspicious, or we feel a little bit worried. The intensity is what gives variation. And if we keep saying to our partner, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, it's just one part of the story. But there are many different nuances and many different levels of every experience. So as you are learning to communicate your needs to your partner, which is what we're going to move on to in a minute, it really is very, very useful to understand the different levels that you are experiencing that particular emotion as. So if you're vulnerable, it can be showing off as helpless or insecure or reserved or shaky. There are many different versions of that particular emotion, and I would encourage you to really think what makes it particularly strong for you. So another aspect of this that I really want to cover before we go into the specific strategies that I wanted to share today is to understand that sometimes what we express our emotions as is not in fact a feeling, but it's rather an expression, interpretation, or the judgment that we make of the behavior of another person or the reality of another person. Ultimately, the difference between feelings and interpretations is that feelings are all valid. They all are basically impossible to challenge. If I feel sad, nobody else can tell me if I'm feeling sad or not sad. They could tell me, don't be sad, but the reality is I'm feeling sad. However, if I say I'm feeling abandoned, obviously there needs to be someone else that is doing the abandoning. So that way I'm actually putting the blame on someone else. I'm saying that it's your fault that I feel abandoned because you are not present in our relationship. But if I feel sad, I can be just sad because I'm telling myself a story that is giving me that experience. So I would encourage you to be careful and be aware of what exactly you are communicating to your partner, for the simple reason that if you're using a lot of interpretation words, your partner is actually more likely to become defensive when they're listening to you. So they will feel rejected, they will feel attacked if you are always putting them in the position of doing something nasty to you, something bad, patronizing you or provoking you or threatening you. So if you're saying, oh, I always feel threatened when you speak to me that way, it's much easier for your partner to feel attacked and get defensive because you are saying you are doing something wrong to me. So pay attention to these words, and as we are going to explore the different strategies of communication, be aware that they actually have an impact on the way that the person on the other side is really receiving that message. So now that we understand a little bit our emotions and I understand about our needs, now there comes a time when we really need to express that particular need in a way that will allow our partner to satisfy that need. So Oprah famously said, and I totally agree with her, that you get in life what you have the courage to ask for. And if we let our fear lead the communication and we're not really communicating authentically and from the heart what we actually need to have in our relationship to be happy, it is very easy for our partner to misunderstand and to only give us what they believe is necessary. So let's explore, what does it really mean to ask exactly what it is that you want in order for you to get what you want. So if you have clarity on the need, then you are going to need to find the right words to express exactly what you want, to make a request that will allow your partner to give you what you want. So let's take an example of an unmet need, which is quite simple. So we have a scenario where maybe you would prepare a nice dinner for your partner, hoping that maybe you can have an interesting conversation or a good conversation about something that has been bothering you. And you maybe, go all the way and you go and buy like a nice piece of fish or something special, something that needs to be eaten just as it's finished cooking. And for some reason, your partner is late. your partner shows up an hour later and they don't actually call you, they don't give you any sort of information about when they're going to get home, so you're not able to really slow things down. So understandably, you can be pretty mad in that situation. You can be very, very annoyed and very frustrated that everything, all the work that you've put into this, into preparing this dinner, has gone completely down the toilet. And also, you will feel very unappreciated, and the fact that all your efforts always seem to go nowhere. So the unmet need in this situation, in my opinion, is a need to be respected, to be prioritized, to know that if you've agreed something with your partner, they will actually reliably show up for you because you've made this agreement. So in this situation, there are a whole bunch of different needs that might be present, but I invite you to think, what would be the unmet need for you? Because sometimes when we have such a situation, we tend to be communicating that frustration, and in a way that will make the partner get very defensive. So for example, we could say, oh my God, you're so late and now this dinner is ruined. Thank you for calling me to let me know. So we get a little bit of sarcasm in there, just to communicate to our partner that they've done something wrong and they've upset us. We could say, oh my God, this is all your fault. You've just ruined a beautiful dinner that I spent a lot of time cooking. Or you're going to say, well, you know what? You just need to call me if you're going to be late. This is not on. It's not okay for you to make me wait all this time. Or you could say, if you're late next time and you don't call, I'm going to never cook for you ever again. Or if you don't call next time, you're just going to be sleeping on the couch because I don't want to have you next to me anyway. And we could also be saying, what's the matter with you that you don't call? As you can see, all of these expressions are not actually very conducive to a good communication. Although they are communicating how we feel, they are very unlikely to create a positive dialogue, because what we're actually doing when we're expressing our feelings in this way, we're complaining about our partner's behavior. We're blaming our partner for having done something that is upsetting us. We are demanding that they change their behavior. We might be even threatening them or forcing them to do something, even when they're not actually prepared to do that, or they haven't agreed to do that. It's very easy, and we all fall into this trap of constantly criticizing our partner when they're not able to meet our needs, or simply because we have this relationship, we have this sense of entitlement of like, well, you should do this because I am doing this for you. Or we're expecting them to read our mind, to know what they have to do to make us feel happy, even though maybe we haven't been very clear that we were even preparing this dinner. So these are all very natural reactions. I'm not putting them here to make you feel bad about your way of communicating your feelings, but mostly to make you aware of the fact that sometimes we don't even know that we are causing conflicts by the way that we're expressing that emotion, and we are letting the emotion lead the way instead of communicating our feelings with compassion and love, so that our partner can also give us love and compassion in return. So what can we do instead? So today I'm going to share with you 3 different, or actually 4 different techniques that are going to ensure, if you apply them in the right circumstances, that your needs are going to be met the next time around. So the first technique, it's called NVC, or nonviolent communication, which is a system based on 4 steps, which remove the blaming or complaining and are really putting you in the center of the communication and make your feelings undebatable. So if you are starting the conversation with an objective observation of a situation, so for example, when you didn't actually show up for dinner as I thought you promised, you state a feeling that that experience has created, that fact has created. And the feeling is, I was feeling really disappointed because I thought we made an agreement that we're going to have dinner at 8, and you know that I really have a need to rely on you, to know that I can trust you. So I would maybe I'm wondering if you would be willing to maybe call me next time or tell me that you might be late for this particular agreement that we've made. So in short, the nonviolent communication relies on these 4 steps: observation plus feeling plus need, and then making a positive request. This request needs to be very specific in kind, as in what exactly do we want the person to do in order for them to make us feel happy. There needs to have a time frame, and there needs to be a place in terms of, how are we actually expecting the partner to do this better next time. So the simple cheat sheet for this is: when something happens, what are the facts that you can observe? When we couldn't have dinner at 8, I feel really disappointed because I need to know that I can rely on you. And would you be willing to actually maybe call me or let me know if there are any reasons why you may not make it for dinner? And would you be able to really come and do this again properly tomorrow, for example? So again, I'm going to share all of this with you after the webinar, so you will have this experience yourself and you will be able to practice it. And if a simple strategy is actually called SUE, and it stands for sensation plus emotion plus want. So we can start again with the body. This time we start exactly with the body. We don't really worry so much about the external facts of the matter, of how did we come to feel like this, but essentially we describe the physical reaction in the body. What is our physical state? Are we feeling really tight in the body and really quite unable to move, maybe stuck, because I'm feeling disappointed and angry right now that you haven't been able to come to dinner as we agreed. And what I really want, what I really need, what is the underlying need here, is to change the situation right now, is to maybe agree to something that we can do together to still have that conversation and make up for the fact that we have just experienced disconnect in our relationship right now. That's strategy number 2. Or also we can put ourselves in a situation where it is our partner who is telling us that their needs are not met. So how can we be more empathetic, and how can we communicate to our partner in such a way that they feel seen and loved and understood? Because ultimately relationships are they go both ways, and the energy goes both ways. And sometimes our partner doesn't see or hear us because they also do not feel heard or seen. So the reverse strategy to NVC, when it comes to reciprocating when something has not happened for our partner, is called an empathy guess. An empathy guess is a strategy that allows us to connect with the feelings of the other person, to make sure that they also feel seen and loved and heard. So we could just guess at our partner's feelings, to say, oh, I'm sorry, honey, I'm sensing that you are feeling a little bit annoyed because I was late for dinner. I know you are going to cook. So we make this statement. We say that we're feeling their annoyance. Then also we can guess why they're probably upset with us, since we know that possibly we've done something a little bit wrong, and we can acknowledge that we feel guilty. And then we can take a guess at the need. We know that our partner needs to feel appreciated for what they do. So if they spend 3 hours cooking dinner and we show up late and the whole dinner is ruined, then it's quite easy to guess what they actually need from us. So then making a doable or a realistic offer for them to really feel better about it, we could say, would you like me to cook dinner for you as a thank you this weekend, to make sure that you're not hating me too much because I've done something wrong. So for me, it's important to recognize that whatever we do to a partner, they also do to us in return. And one of the most important relationship skills is really to take responsibility for our actions and to make sure that our partner also feels seen, loved, and heard in our relationship, so that they can reciprocate when they see that we've changed this. And this is exactly why I think of relationships as mirrors. in romantic relationships, I see this as an energy exchange, like a constant infinity sign of love and affection, but also anger and resentment that goes between us, because all our emotions are actually energy in motions. So every time we feel something for our partner, they're going to receive that emotion inside their body, they're going to process it, they're going to add something to it, their own resentment, their own anger. And depending on what we're sending, the situation can escalate, or it can actually be diffused if we're both calming ourselves down and shifting the energy of that emotion from something negative and aggressive to something that is empathetic and loving and conscious. So as you are on this quest to learn how to be more seen and loved in your relationship, I invite you to also think, when I have an unmet need that creates a negative emotion in my body, how is that potentially a reflection of an unmet need in my partner? For me, this concept has been extremely, extremely useful to understand that whatever I'm not getting from a partner is possibly also something that I'm not giving them. It may not be exactly the same, but for example, it also is a lesson that we are not doing that to ourselves. So let's say I'm in a situation where I don't feel prioritized by my partner. And then I ask myself, is there an opportunity for me to prioritize myself more so that I actually feel more important to myself? So if a person doesn't put me first because they're very busy, am I putting myself first? I do things that are working for me, or do I still put myself last because I want my partner to pay attention to me? This has been very helpful for me to understand where in my life I could experience more self-love. And as a result of me loving myself more, I have also experienced love from others a lot more deeply. So my next question to you is, first of all, do you have an equal energetic give and take in your relationship? For me, this is one of the most fundamental aspects of a relationship, knowing that what you are giving is reciprocated, and what you are getting is also something that you are willing and able to give back to your partner. I have noticed during these last 10 years of being a coach that most of the time people have arrived at a state of disconnection because of the daily erosion and the daily rejections that each partner is experiencing every day. So every time we do something for our partner and they're not showing us appreciation and gratitude, we make a conclusion that maybe it's not worth giving them all this emotion. So we pull back a little bit. And every time they're maybe trying to connect to us through sexual touch, for example, or trying to get us to feel closer to them through a physical embrace or something like this, we go, oh, I'm not in the mood for that, because we haven't actually connected emotionally, and therefore we're making our partner feeling rejected. And this daily erosion, these daily disappointments and microaggressions that are happening in a relationship on a daily basis, this is essentially like breaking down a wall little by little, or actually putting another brick on the wall and building it between us. So I would invite you to really consider, in what ways do you have equality and reciprocity in terms of energy that is passing between you and your partner? Is this something that you do on a regular basis, or has that wall become so big and so tall in your life that there is virtually no energy going between you? Because if that is the case, then you need to change the story, the interpretation that you make. So all those thoughts and feelings that I encouraged you to think about in the beginning, those will need to be changed. The meaning that you make of your interactions will need to be changed for you to be able to experience this fully. So in order to have connection in your life, it's really important that both of you give this energy, this positive energy, love, affection, attention, making sure that you listen as much as you desire to be heard, and that you're noticing things about your partner, what is really happening with them, instead of taking them for granted or making up a story that whatever emotion they're feeling is actually about you. Because when we see somebody coming into our coming into our experience with something that, or into our life, for example, with anger or depression or being annoyed by someone at work, then we're also sometimes making the interpretation, the meaning that they are going to, that is something that we've done, that it's our fault that they've done something like this. So I'd like you to experience for yourself, how does it work in your particular life, whether what you're doing with your partner is creating a connection or is actively disconnecting you. Here are some of the ways in which we are preventing ourselves from creating this connection. So very often, most people that come to see me say that one of the reasons they are not communicating very well with their partner is because they feel judged. But I'd like you to consider the fact that every time you think someone is judging you, you are also judging them back. Or if you think that a partner is making a story that is not true, you are also making a story of your own of any situation. So really consider, how are we responding in exactly the same way? If a partner is attacking us, or we make the story that they're attacking us, that they're blaming us for something, or they're complaining about something, our natural desire, our natural response is to get defensive, to say, oh, but this is not true. I'm not doing this. You have done this. So to put the problem on the other side. Or we're becoming really emotional. We get very reactive and we say, oh my God, I can't believe that you're saying this to me again. Why is it always that I'm the one to blame, and so on? So in order for you to feel more loved and connected to your partner, it's important that you notice, when are the times that you are too quick to judge, you're too quick to make meaning that is actually detrimental to your relationship. How often do you get defensive, even if the partner's actions are not immediately attacking you? And how often are we reacting, maybe not even because of something that the partner has done, but because we already experience a high level of some sort of anger or sadness or distress in our life? So the final tool that I want to share with you today is really something that I call the communication map, which is something that I use with couples in my individual work or in my couples work, to understand what are the steps that they can apply to resolving a conflict, or making sure that they meet each other's needs. Because when you understand, if you are the one experiencing the issue, then definitely that issue is absolutely valid, because it points to an unmet need. And what's important, if you are on the receiving end of this, like if your partner is experiencing an issue, what really matters is that you don't take it personally, that you realize that whatever is happening is not about you. And what you really want to do is to be curious, to understand what is really happening for your partner. Listen to them truly, not to respond, but to understand. This is the biggest problem that we have when we listen, that we are thinking, okay, what is my response to this? How am I going to protect myself? It must be my fault if you're having an issue. Whereas that's not the most productive way of doing it, because it goes back into the roadblocks, the barriers that I mentioned earlier. We get very defensive, we get reactive, we think, oh my God, you're making it about me again. Or how can you say this is my problem? How can you be so such a jerk, or something like this, right? So if you're receiving someone's problem, if someone is communicating an unmet need to, is important to be compassionate and to really ask for more information about it. So you can say, can you help me understand what this is all about? So in our scenario earlier on, if your partner, for example, is mad that they've been cooking and you haven't told them that they're coming, and that you haven't told them that you're going to be late for dinner, that they've been spending hours in the kitchen preparing for you, probably the reason is not the fact that you are late, but mostly because they actually are conflating this situation with a bigger unmet need of not feeling appreciated for their work, or that what they're doing for you doesn't seem to get the appreciation that you want. So if you're able to identify the issue, if you're able to say, oh, okay, make an empathy guess at this point and say, oh, it must be that you have a need to feel appreciated, and I'm sorry I didn't appreciate you. And we can actually ask them, if you are the receiver, if they have a request, if they are not able to make that request very clearly, it's important to also give and receive validation to say, yes, are you aware of what is happening, and can you understand why my feelings are valid, why my emotion is valid? And if you are clarifying that request is feasible and possible, if you are not able to actually do what your partner is asking you to do, then it's good to propose something different. And if you are the one asking, making a request, be sure to make that request in such a simple and clear way that your partner can action it straight away. It's really important for you to aim for a negotiation, which is a win-win agreement, as opposed to a compromise where each of you gives up something that they want. So based on this, I would like to finish a little bit early because I have made some space in this presentation for questions and participation. But since we don't have a lot of participants that are here live, I'm going to just simply mention that every person who has registered for this webinar, whether they've been live or they've received the recording, I am offering you all a free discovery call for my new program for couples, which is called Love Alchemy, that is going to be launched in the next couple of weeks. So if you're interested in connecting better with your partner and you might want some help as a result of this conversation, or in general, you wanted to have something to bring to your partner as an option for a deeper connection and a higher sense of intimacy, this particular discovery call, which is a free 30-minute conversation between us, just the two of us, or you and your partner and myself, are going to give you an idea of what this program is about and whether you and your partner might be good candidates for exploring some coaching that will help you get that magic back, because there is always magic that you can continue to build in your relationship. So that brings my presentation to an end. If any of the people who are currently live would like to ask any questions, I would love to hear those questions. So you can unmute yourself and let me know what I can help you with. So if there are no questions, I would just like to thank you all for your participation today, for your attention, and for registering for this webinar. And if nobody has anything to say, I'm just going to close it right here. And we'll send you all the information that I promised on email. Until next time. Thank you very much.